You know that voice, that one that shows up the morning after you miss the day. Mine showed up on a Friday. I'd been traveling all day on a Thursday and didn't make my regular gym time. Now, that's fine, that happens. But Friday morning, I woke up ready, shoes on, bag packed, and then it started. The first voice, it was quiet, almost polite. "You've already missed a day," it said. Now, I didn't argue with it, which I should have, because the first voice wasn't trying to stop me. It was just opening the door for the second one. And then it came. "You traveled all day long. Your body could use the rest." Now, that sounds like self-care, and it sounds smart. And by the time the third voice showed up that said, "Honestly, the hotel gym, it isn't worth your time," I had a full case built against myself. Not an excuse, a case with evidence. And I almost believed every word. That's the Monday lie. Not one voice, a stack of them. Oh man, what makes this dangerous is that it doesn't sound like quitting. It sounds completely reasonable. I've made that deal with myself more times than I would care to admit. You miss a day, and before you can course correct, your brain is already building the case for a clean start. Monday, fresh week. It'll be a better version of you. And it feels like discipline, and it generally feels like strategy. Like you're planning to come back instead of avoiding the work. Except that Monday never actually shows up. A different one does. The same promise, a new wave of motivation, maybe even got a new system, and it works for about a week, maybe two, until the next miss, until the next case. And you're right back here making the same deal. You know what Monday actually is? It's permission to not do the work dressed up as a plan. And the difference between those two things are everything. Because, listen, the miss itself wasn't the real problem. The miss was just the crack on the door opening up. The real problem is what your brain does. It walks through that door and it builds something crazy on the other side. And once you agree with the case that it's building on the other side, the next one comes faster. And the Monday, it just keeps moving. Here's the thing. Once I understood that that was actually driving this, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And it's not what most people think it is. Now, I want you to hear this clearly. Your brain, it's not broken. This isn't weakness. What's actually happening when those voices show up is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. Protect the identity it already knows. We talked about this identity floor in the last video, that unconscious baseline you keep snapping back to no matter how hard you push. This is what it looks like up close. The version of you that shows up to the gym 5 days a week is a genuine threat to the identity your brain is currently running on. And your brain treats identity stability the same way it treats survival. Any behavior that doesn't match the current program gets resistance every time. So the voices aren't random. They're not accidents. Your brain isn't throwing excuses at you. It's building a legal brief deliberately. Because if it can get you to agree with this case, it doesn't have to fight you anymore. You just step aside and do it yourself. Crazy. But that's the trap. The Monday lie doesn't feel like quitting. It feels like a reasonable person making a reasonable decision. Your brain, it doesn't need a good reason to stop. It just needs a reasonable one. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. But seeing it is only half of the equation. The other half is what you actually do in the moment that first the voices show up. And that's exactly where most people get it completely wrong. Stay with me because there's one thing I need you to understand before the rest of this makes sense. Discipline isn't built in your best sessions. It's built in the ones you almost didn't show up for. And I went to that hotel gym on that Friday, kind of gloomy looking. Half of the equipment was broken, smelled not so great, kind of like a locker room from 1987. But I did 30 minutes. Nothing impressive, nothing worth posting, and I almost talked myself out of walking into it all. And yet, that session was the most important training I did all month. Not because of what I did inside the gym, but because of what happened in my brain when I walked through the door anyway. When you show up after the voices build a full case against you, you're not just logging a workout, you're filing evidence about who you are every single time. And that evidence is what raises the identity floor. It doesn't go up through great days or perfect weeks, it goes up through minimum reps, the reps you almost didn't do. So stop measuring sessions by whether they are good, and start measuring them by whether you showed up when the voices said not to. That's the rep that actually changes the program. The minimum rep that proves the case wrong. I'm going to give you 3 moves that make this work in real life. And look, move 2 is actually the one that separates the people who actually change from the people who feel inspired for a week and then they fall off. I call this the stack protocol. Move 1 is this. The first move is you got to name the voice. The second that voice shows up, don't argue with it. Don't try to reason your way past it. Just name it out loud if you've got to. You could even say, that's the voice. I know that sounds a little too simple to really even make a difference, but here's what happens the moment you name it. You stop being a participant in the conversation and you become an observer. You're no longer inside the case being built against you. You're watching it from the outside. And a case you can see being built is a case you can choose not to agree with. Most people, man, they jump straight into arguing. No, I should go. I need this. I really got to do this. And now they're in a debate with their own brain. And your brain always wins the debate because it has more voices than you do. Don't argue, name the voice, and move on. The second move is this. Expect the stack. Voice 2, listen, voice 2 is already on its way. Voice 3 is right behind voice 2. You don't get to stop them from coming, but you can take away the only thing that makes them work. Before you even lace up, before you even touch the door handle, say this once. The case is going to build, but I already know what it sounds like. And I'm going to the place, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing the work, I'm going to move anyway. That's pre-commitment. And it breaks the stack before it finishes. Because the stack of voices, and it only has power when it catches you off guard. The moment you see it coming, the whole thing loses its grip. Inspiration doesn't survive voice 2. Pre-commitment does. This is the move, listen, this is the move nobody talks about. And it's move 3. Do the minimum rep. Not the ideal session, not a hardcore performance. You just go. And you got one rule. You can leave after 20 minutes if you need to, but you have to walk in and do the work. Because every time, listen, you show up, when the voices built a case against you, you're adding a line to the document your brain is quietly keeping about who you are. And that document, it's the identity floor. It rises by minimum reps, not by great days, not by streaks, but by showing up when you almost didn't. Now, the hotel gym that I went to, it counts. The short run, it counts. The 10 minutes you showed up on 4 hours of sleep, it counts. Stop waiting for the right conditions to be in the mood. Start banking evidence. Here's what I want you to do tonight, and be honest about this. It only works if you're truly honest with yourself. Think about where the Monday lie actually lives for you. It might be in your business. It might be in your relationships, a creative project you keep restarting. Whenever you keep coming back to Monday with a fresh start and the same starting line, listen, write down your three voices. Not the concept, the actual words they use on you. What does voice one say? What does voice two add to make it feel reasonable? What does voice three say when it's trying to sound probably like wisdom? Then write this one sentence underneath that. The case is going to build, but I already know what it sounds like, and I'm going anyway. When you write that down, it becomes a decision that was already made before those voices ever get started. And the next time the voice one shows up, and it will, your brain already has the answer. The version of you that does this tonight, man, you're already different than the person that you used to be yesterday. This is where, though, most people stop. They feel something and they let it fade. Don't be that person. What you do in the next 24 hours decides which version of you walks into next week. Now, I got off that plane on Thursday, missed the gym, woke up on Friday, and I heard all three voices. And to be honest with you, I almost agreed with every single one of them. But I went away anyways. 30 minutes on broken equipment in a gym I'll probably never go back to. And when I went away from there, I wasn't proud of the workout. I was proud of the decision, because the loop didn't win that day. And not because I'm more disciplined than you, but because I knew what the case sounded like before it could even finish building that case. That's it. That's the only difference between someone who actually shows up and someone who doesn't. So you're not undisciplined. You're not someone who just can't stay consistent. You're running a program that got very good at building a case against you. And now, though, you know what the program looks like. So update it. Now, if you want more lessons like this, productivity, mindset, and discipline on how to stay consistent, well, I want you to watch the next video right here.